Welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation in important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for our video podcast and YouTube exclusive content. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family. Hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, we're going to be getting messy, y'all. We're going to be talking about Big Meech and 50 Cent. Then we're going to be talking about tonight's Conversations podcast. And then we're going to be talking about a social media star doing something crazy. But that's enough of the intro. Let's get to the show. Now, y'all know I'm not one to do a lot for gossip and pop culture. You know, I like to have a segment on my show where I talk a little bit about that stuff, but I've never had a whole show being messy. I never wanted to have a podcast show where we're just messy and gossiping. There's enough of those shows out there like that. I wanted to be something that talked about current event and social issues, issues that are changing our lives. But I'm tired of politics. I don't want to talk about anything that's super serious. And having a conversation with several people, I realized that sometimes entertainment doesn't have to be so, I don't know, make you think, right? Sometimes it's just got to be mindless entertainment. And I'm going to tell y'all something that you may not know. I'm messy. Like in my personal life, I'm very, very messy. I love gossip. I will never gossip about myself. I love gossiping about other people and hearing other people's stories. It was a funny meme that was going around that two of my homegirls sent me. And it was, I guess it was a viral video, it was a reel about a woman saying, "Hey, do y'all want to hear some gossip about some people that you don't know?" And I was like, yeah, I definitely want to hear some gossip about people that I don't know. I love hearing gossip. So this whole episode today is nothing but gossip. And I have to start with something that is not fairly new. It's happened within the last 3 weeks, 2, 3 weeks. So it's not a super current topic, but it's a current topic. And it's one that I'm interested in just because of the figures that's associated with it. And that is 50 Cent and Big Meech. So for y'all that don't know, Big Meech was the leader of BMF, Black Mafia Family. There's a television show on Stars that coincidentally 50 Cent produces. It's about some drug dealing brothers that was literally, they're brothers, not just black. I mean, but they are that too, but they're literally brothers. Meech is the older brother, and they were two brothers from Detroit that eventually moved to Atlanta and then LA, and they were part of the biggest cocaine distribution ring in the United States in the early 2000s, not late 90s and early 2000s. They got busted, they went to jail, but in hip hop lore and street lore, they're like legends, especially Big Meech, because he was a very outgoing personality. Well, 50 Cent said he had met Big Meech before and Black Mafia Family members. And this is an interesting story. 50 Cent already has those TV shows on Stars, Power, they're dealing in the drug dealing world. And hey, we like gangster stuff. Everybody likes gangster stuff. If gangster stuff didn't sell, then The Godfather wouldn't have sold. Then Scarface wouldn't have sold. Then the Cash Money Brothers from New Jack City wouldn't have sold. Goodfellas wouldn't have sold. The Irishman just got released. Hell, Robert De Niro is coming out with a gangster movie. I think it should be out soon, where he's playing two mafia figures in the same movie. We love gangster stuff. So 50 Cent had his shows Power on Stars, and he decided to do a TV series on BMF, and it starred Big Meech's son, Little Meech, playing his father. 50 Cent sent Little Meech to acting classes. The series has been on for about 3 seasons, I believe, and the show was good. I really, really enjoy it. It's something me and my dad talk about all the time. We really enjoy that show. A lot of people close to me really, really enjoy that show. So what's the controversy? Well, Big Meech just got released from prison. And so, Big Meech was getting thrown a welcome home concert. The only problem is one of the main people that was throwing this welcome home concert was a guy named Rick Ross. Now, Rick Ross is another rapper that 50 Cent just so coincidentally has beef with. What is their beef really about? I don't really know. They just been taking shots at each other for the last 15 years. It's not serious, right? It's not serious because nobody's been physically harmed over this beef. But it's still nevertheless a beef. And I'll get into all of 50 Cent's beefs later on. That's a whole separate issue. But Big Meech was seen taking a picture with Rick Ross, and 50 Cent went nuts. So 50 Cent posted a picture on Instagram mocking Big Meech with a rat image of him, and then captions basically calling Big Meech a rat. And his alleged evidence is documents from a YouTuber named Jake, proving that Meech cooperated with authorities, and another woman named Tammy Cowens, who's also a BMF co-producer, but she's also an alleged informant linking to Big Meech's past. So supposedly the story goes is that Big Meech is in jail. He gives Tammy Cowens all the power of attorney and able to make deals for him. What she's doing though, as she has his power, is they're meeting often, and this is alleged that Big Meech is feeding her information to get people arrested. So he's becoming an informant. Now, 50 Cent has been sitting on this the entire time he's been producing the Big Black Mafia Family series, because Tammy is a co-producer of the series, right? I mean, the money had to get back to Big Meech, but 50 Cent supposedly has known that Big Meech allegedly has been a rat this entire time. And he decided not to spill the even though there were rumors floating around out there that Big Meech had, cooperated with authorities to set other people up for a few years now. He decided to sit on that until Big Meech went and shook hands and broke bread with his op. Now, what is an op? That's your operative. That's the opposer. That's them. They not like us. And 50 Cent and Rick Ross have been having beef for decades. Once again, it's not real beef. 50 Cent has had some real beefs. The dude's been shot 9 times because he made a rap song called Ghetto Quran where, he says it's not snitching because all that information was out there. But he basically told on Supreme and his brother Prince, two of the leaders of the Supreme team, a drug dealing crew out of Jamaica, Queens, that was notorious in the 80s and 90s. And that was the reason why he was shot 9 times. There's some other stuff that goes into it, but basically, it's basically about that song. And 50 Cent is keen about calling somebody else a rat. And I'm a 50 Cent fan, not much for his music anymore. He could put out music right now, and I'm like, I might listen to it, might not. I'm a fan of his business acumen. I think that business he has a business mind. Everything he touches turns to gold. He has a finger on the pulse of what drives people's attention, how he can get attention. He's a hell of a marketer. I mean, these New York cats, they know how to market themselves, right? Whether it's the person that's occupying the Oval Office, whether it's 50 Cent, whether it's Tekashi 6ix9ine, whether it's Al Capone, who's originally from New York, I know, based out of Chicago, but originally from New York. These New Yorkers know how to spit game and talk fast. And 50's had a lot of beefs through the years, but now he is burning the show down because Big Meech was going to be on a concert, was being promoted, was going to get some bread, was going to get some money from this concert that Rick Ross, an enemy of 50 Cent, was a part of. So where does this all put Little Meech? Because Little Meech, Big Meech's son, is playing Big Meech in the TV series BMF. So Little Meech reached out to 50 Cent, and he was just basically saying through text messages, hey man, what are you doing unfollowing me on Instagram and doing all this other stuff, talking this stuff about my dad? My dad was just doing this stuff because he was getting a bag, to float us over into the season when the new season started. And you know me personally, why are you acting this way? And 50 Cent, being the petty individual that he is, decided to post this all on the internet for everybody to read, and then said, "What show?" Basically saying that the show is not going to come back because he has the power of the executive producer and the owner of the TV series to just say, hey, not only did your dad was going to get a little bit of cash from this concert and burned the millions of dollars that I've given him because of this show. 50 says it's about $5 million. Why is Big Meech broke when $5 million is coming to the family? I don't know the specifics. I don't know what's true and not true. They have gotten some money because they're doing the show, right? You're broke. You need a little bit of bread to float you over. Okay. You've been in jail. Maybe you don't know that 50 Cent and Rick Ross have beef. Somebody in your circle needed to tell you that 50 Cent and Rick Ross has beef, and it might not be a good idea for you to take pictures with your main financial benefactor's enemy. I don't know. That to me makes sense. I would understand why 50 Cent will feel a certain type of way when I have been funding you, funding your family. He sent Little Meech to acting school, right? To learn how to act so that he could play his father. 50 Cent accused Little Meech of being drunk on the set, forgetting lines, even saying that he paid for Little Meech to go to rehab. If all this stuff is true, if what 50 Cent is saying is true, and I don't take 50 Cent as a liar. An embellisher, maybe, but not a liar. And people are going to say, well, what's the difference? There's a difference. In the Black community, we call it putting 100 on 10. You know what I'm saying? Let me give you a prime example. I might have rode my bike for 10 miles, stopped and got me a sandwich. I was exhausted and came on home. That's the truth of the story. How I might tell the story is I went 10 miles. It was crazy out there, almost got hit by a car. The pedal hit me in my ankle. I had to stop, walk my bike to the sandwich shop. They didn't have what I wanted. You know, I wanted a meatball sandwich, but they didn't have all the meatballs. How you not gonna have all the meatballs at the Subway? So I had to get me a BLT sandwich because, you know, I needed some pork. So I got me a BLT sandwich. And then I decided to walk on home. And as I'm walking home, I dropped the sandwich on the ground. Ain't that about it? Now there's some embellishment. Is there some falsehoods in there? Yes, but the majority of the story is true. It's putting 100 on 10. Do I think 50 Cent has put 100 on 10 on some of these things? Maybe, but also he has a legitimate reason to be upset because I have put money in your pocket and you have decided to partner up with my enemy. And by the way, Rick Ross knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing when he took a picture of Big Meech. He knew that 50 Cent was going to feel a certain type of way. Now, I remind you that all of this was supposed to be a concert for Big Meech Welcome Back Home that Rick Ross and a whole bunch of headliners was on. Lil Baby was supposed to be there. All these different headliners was on it. Guess what happened to that concert? It got canceled. So not only, not only did the concert get canceled, the Big Meech not getting no money from the concert, he's now ruined his connection to his main benefactor. And 50 is petty, and 50 can forgive a lot of things, but not stuff like this. And so, yeah, this is the big thing that's going on with 50 Cent and Big Meech. And you might be thinking to yourself, why would 50 Cent want to beef with a former drug dealer? One, yes, Big Meech was a drug dealer, but he wasn't tied to a lot of violent crimes. He was just a mass distributor of cocaine to the community, right? It wasn't like he was, Scarface, where he's killing everybody all the time. He's a hustler, not a gangster. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a difference between a hustler and a gangster. And yes, you can do gangster stuff and not be a gangster. You could just be a hustler, be about your money, right? There's a difference out there. And 50 Cent has already had run-ins with major gangsters before. So he's not really worried about the confrontation with this former drug dealer who just got out of prison, who's not going to test him physically anyway. the public response has been, mixed. A lot of people been on 50 Cent's side, a lot of people been on Big Meech's side. This is what I'll say. I understand why 50 Cent was disgruntled and why 50 Cent responded this way. Also, 50 Cent is very petty. Let me just run down a list of his feuds that he's had. He's had the legendary feud with Ja Rule that goes back 25 years, and he's still so petty that Ja Rule had a concert a couple of years ago, and 50 Cent decided to buy out the first 2, 3, 4 rows and just make sure that they were empty so that Ja Rule was performing in front of an empty first couple of rows section. That's how petty 50 Cent is. He's had issues with The Game, another rapper. The major issue that he had where I was like, hey man, this could go real wrong, is he had an issue with Fat Joe. A lot of these people, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't listen to hip hop, you wouldn't know who they are, but they are major, major figures in hip hop and street. He's had issues with Cameron. Y'all know how I feel about Cameron. I'm a major fan. He's had issues with Jay-Z, Lil Wayne. My man even had issues with Oprah and Madonna. And he used to be good friends with Floyd Mayweather and had an issue with him. 50 Cent isn't even talking to his own firstborn son, Marquise. 50 Cent stays in beef. Sometimes, and once again, I had to point this out, I'm a fan of 50 Cent. Sometimes people have to be in constant mess in order to survive. I think 50 Cent is one of those type of people. He's not happy unless he's miserable. And misery is constantly being in beefs. Because how is that pleasure? I understand the street ethic of, being forceful and being aggressive. Like, I get it. I'm not of the street, but I get it. I've been around it enough to understand how that mentality is. You have to be aggressive in the street. 50 Cent's from the street. He ain't been from the street in about 25 years. Eventually, half his life was in the street. The other half has not been in the street. At a certain point, you gotta just let the street stuff go. I mean, honestly, and to get money. If you're about business, then get about business. But he's also about loyalty. And Big Meech showed that he didn't have any loyalty to everything 50 Cent had done. Like I said, I understand his position. And now, because of what Big Meech did, it not only affected Big Meech, it not only affected Lil Meech, but you know who else it also affected? Me. And that's the real reason why I'm talking about this, because I love that damn show. And now I won't be able to watch the show anymore. There won't be any new shows because Big Meech did this. If Big Meech wanted about $50,000, I would have pitched in for that. I would have pitched if he did a GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe was, give me some money so I don't perform at Rick Ross's concert and get the show canceled. I would have immediately grabbed my Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, Apple Card, Cash App card, whatever, Zelle, Venmo, whatever it was. I would have grabbed something. Afterpay, I'd even put that on the buy now, pay later. PayPal, paying for whatever it had to be. I would have done whatever it needed to be done to make sure that he got some bread so that the show wouldn't get canceled. And now the show is canceled because he don't understand 50 Cent and 50 Cent's pettiness. And 50 Cent's pettiness then now cancel one of my favorite shows. I'm sick all the way around. And that's just a little bit about what's going on in the hip hop community. But we're going to get into some messy nature in the podcast community, and we're going to get into that next. It's funny, ensembles, whether it's a band, a group of people that's on a TV show, what have you. When parts of the ensemble that's successful have infighting, it creates a ripple effect to not only the group that's participating in whatever it is, whether it's a TV show, it's a podcast, it's a musical act, but also their fans. And I don't think that entertainers, and that's what we all are, right? The podcasting is nothing more than another form of entertainment. Technically, I fall under the category of entertainer. Whether y'all find this entertaining or not, a lot of you do. A lot of you do. So we fall in line of entertainers. And so we have an audience. If me and my sister got into a beef and we stopped doing the show, a lot of people out there would be really disappointed. Probably as disappointed as I am that BMF is being canceled because of Big Meech and 50 Cent's beef. But I get into all of that to lead to this. Tonight's conversation. Tonight's conversation is a podcast. It's a weekly podcast, and it's hosted by a gentleman named Ace Metaphor, and it focuses on Black love, dating, and relationships. Now, if you're on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, you have seen a clip from their podcast. You may not have realized it's a clip of the podcast, but you've seen a clip from the podcast. It's very successful. What they do is they tour and they sell tickets, and they sell a lot of tickets, right? They sell a lot of tickets. They can get up to 4,000 people in their audience. And you may say to yourself, that's not a lot of people. Let me explain how many people that is to you in categories of levels of stardom, right? So if you have your Drake, you have Beyonce. Let's have Beyonce. Beyonce can sell out a stadium. 90,000, 100,000 people could sell that out. Drake can sell that out. Who's a smaller act? Let's say Aerosmith came back on tour. They're probably selling out arenas, right? They're probably not going to be able to sell out a stadium anymore. They're an older act. Not to say they are great. I love them, but they're an older act. They're probably not going to sell out stadiums anymore. Those are more arenas. You know, you're 14,000, right? Those are top tier. Those are the best of the best. Podcasts, Joe Rogan, which is the most successful podcast right now, is not going to sell out an arena. He's just not, right? So the next tier after that is like a comedian, but like a smaller scale comedian that's selling out a theater. And a theater might have 4,000 people. That's where this act is. If me and my sister did a live podcast and we promoted it, we might get 1,000, maybe 1,500, maybe if we're really lucky, 2,000. But that would be really lucky, and that would be like promoting the hell out of it. This podcast, Tonight's Conversation, they do a tour, they come in your town, they're selling out the entire weekend, 4,000. So very, very successful. And you might be saying, well, Bruce, why are you bringing all this up? Well, there are a group of people, and it was about 6, but they're rotating panelists that are giving relationship and dating advice. Y'all know I have a segment called Dr. Love. Haven't done it in a long time because the advice I've been given to people that have been coming to me for advice, I can't tell y'all about because it is really personal. And they're going to know that I'm telling them, and they don't want to come on the show and tell their real personal business. I told y'all, one of my homegirls was dating a guy that was smoking crack. I mean, it's real out here in these streets. So I can't do the Dr. Love segment, but there are people that were open to come up in this auditorium, come up to a little microphone like it's a town hall, tell whatever situation that they were going with, and the panelists would give them advice. And and a lot of times it was really good advice. And a lot of clips that I saw, I would say to myself, damn, that's what I've been thinking. I never knew how to articulate it as well as they did. Or wow, I never even thought of looking at it like that. And I consider myself a pretty well evolved individual when it comes to just common sense. But no, so the podcast was really, really good. And there were 3 main characters. I don't say characters as like a knock on them, but there's 3 main people. Ace Metaphor, who was the host and a motivational speaker, Kit Rose, who was a YouTuber and also one of the main people on the show, and Trip Fontaine, who was a poet and gave the best advice. You've seen Trip Fontaine. If you've seen clips of this podcast, you've seen Trip. Trip has a long beard, black man, young black man, long beard, glasses, and just talks poetically, which makes sense because he's a poet. Anyway, Kit and Trip left. They left a very, very successful podcasts, and this just happened recently. It just happened last month, and it's kind of turned people that follow that podcast and the podcast community up on its head. I'm trying to think of something that's the equivalent. This is not quite the equivalent because they've been together for a lot longer and they're glued together and been together for a very, very, very long time. But think if you're a Howard Stern fan, if Howard and Robin split, right? Robin, it's the Howard Stern show, just like it's Ace's show, but Robin is a major part of the show. I love the Dan Lebertar show with Stu Gatz. I hate when Stu Gatz is not on the show. I love Dan Lebertar, but they're an ensemble. I hate when the people in the back and the producers, when some of them are not there. Like they're an ensemble. So if Seinfeld, all of a sudden, Kramer, well, let's not take Kramer. Let's move on from Kramer. Let's say George left the show isn't as good, right? New Girl was actually better when the main character was gone for a little while and was not replaced, but they put in Megan Fox. I actually thought the show was better, but the ensemble wasn't as good when Damon Wayans Jr. left the show. So people that are fans are a little shook up. They're even more shook up to find out why this group, this ensemble is breaking up. And here's where we get to the gossip and the messy part, because I had to give you guys the background because most of the things I'm talking about today, you don't know anything about. So I got to explain to you who these people are, why they are semi important, why am I bringing this up, why am I talking about this, and then get to the gossip. So Tripp and Kit Rose exited the podcast last month in January 2025, sparking a lot of drama, public drama around the show. Here's Kit Rose's allegations. Kit Rose is a female, like I said, prominent female on the show. This is her allegations for why she left the show. She accused Ace Metaphor of fostering a toxic work environment and failing to meet expectations. She posted an expose of videos post departure. So you remember when Risa Tisa came out of Who the F Did I Marry? She came out with something very similar on TikTok. Who the F was I working for? What, right? Leading fans to feel deceived and bamboozled about the show's authenticity. So she came out with a lot of stuff saying behind the scenes, people was faking the funk and not really believing the things that they were preaching. And okay, how many times have you had a motivational speaker that wasn't quite so motivational in their personal life? They would tell you all these things that they do, but they're a loser. It's like nobody wants to hire a fat personal trainer, right? It's like, and this is, and I know this from my line of business, right? Nobody wants a fat personal trainer. People want a personal trainer that looks good. If that person doesn't know what they're talking about, eventually that client will figure out. But nobody wants a fat personal trainer, right? Nobody wants a hairstylist whose hair is all messed up. Nobody wants a barber who doesn't have any hair or her hair is jacked up, right? Like, so if people are giving you relationship advice, life advice, dating advice, you would hope that in their personal life, these things would be represented as well. And Kit Rose is out here exposing it, saying, no, these things are not represented in their life. It's all a big sham. And the people that preach unity and picking yourself up are really leading a toxic work environment. Now, this is all alleged. I want to say alleged because I need to make sure that it's alleged because Ace Metaphor is suing Kit Rose. And I'll be damned if he try to sue me because I didn't say alleged. So I'm saying allegedly Ace Metaphor is doing these things by way of what Kit Rose is saying. All right. So another major important is Tripp Fontaine. And I watched an interview that he did about why he left the show. And he said it wasn't really that serious. There wasn't all the backstage stuff. And there's more backstage stuff. There's backstage stuff of sexual abuse or sexual misconduct. People hooking up and causing drama backstage, cattiness, gossip, basically some high school type stuff. But you know what's funny? about high school type stuff, it never ends. Some of you people that are listening on the show and watching the show right now are forced to go back to the office because of an executive order that the commander in chief, that person that's occupying the Oval Office, has signed. And working in that office environment, how petty and high schoolish everything is. People are gossiping, people are talking about each other, people are clicking up. This is not new, right? This happens in every walk of life, and we call it high school stuff. I think that's where we really master it, right? I think that's where we really master it, but it never leaves us in life. Some people say they're not going to deal with it, and I don't deal with it, even though I'm messy and I gossip. I'm not in those worlds where I'm going to be in a toxic like environment. Like, even my work is not like that. I'm the person that manages everybody, or the majority of the people, and I have consistent meetings with staff to make sure everybody is comfortable, because I'm also human resources. I'm everything, to make sure everybody is comfortable. And we have really frank conversations. And I say, have frank conversations with me. Let me know if something I did or said has offended you anyway, so we can work on it, so we can have a healthy work environment. I truly, truly believe in that, because that's how everybody flourishes. But we all know that the pettiness and the gossip goes on in the office space. That's just what happens. So I guess a podcast would be no different, right? When it's just me and my sister, there's not going to be too much, because me and my sister have an understanding. But as this podcast grows, as we develop a network where we give other people their shows, things might get catty. I don't know. I'm going to always try to be a manager that makes sure these things don't happen. But allegedly, the person that I would be in this scenario would be Ace. And Ace is the one allegedly creating this toxic work environment. But Trip Fontaine, who's my personal favorite on the show, said the reason why he's leaving has nothing to do with it. When I was watching his interview, he made a point of saying this was basically a situation where he felt he wasn't being compensated and he outgrew the show. And I will say, on the outside looking in, I agree with him. He's a person that should have his own show. Kind of like Angela Yee leaving the Breakfast Club, right? Everybody was up in arms because they broke up this ensemble with DJ Envy and what's the boy's name? The dude that always be wearing the makeup. I can't believe I forgot his name right now, but y'all know who I'm talking about. And people were upset. And she was like, I got a chance to do my own show. Everybody wants their own show, except for my sister, who does not want her own show. She don't want her own show. But like, everybody wants their own show. That's the reason why I'm doing this show right now. Y'all have interviews in the can. I want to do my own show. Sometimes I got stuff that I want to say and stuff that I want to talk about. And this is my show, so I'm going to do it, right? So Trip is just like, look, I felt like I was brought on as a rotational player because he wasn't an original panelist, but it was like, I am kind of the one, along with a few others, that is really making this podcast grow. And he's absolutely right. Because to me, the most important figure on that show, to me, is Trip. Trip is the one that's most visible. Trip is the one that I get the most clips of. So he was saying, like, look, I wanted to be compensated a little bit more. The money wasn't there, or they weren't willing to give me the money. So I'm deciding to go off and try and do different ventures. And I wish the brother success. I do. Sometimes when you're playing in a team sport, sometimes you're successful because that team works well together. And sometimes you can't replicate that on another team. We're here in Washington, D.C. Jordan Poole is a basketball player for the Washington Wizards. He won an NBA championship with the Golden State Warriors. He played well for the Golden State Warriors. He averaged like 20 points a game for the Golden State Warriors coming off the bench. That's really good. So he's come here to be the star, the star for the Washington Wizards, and he's averaging 17 points a game. Now, he's the main focal point, and he's averaging less than he was when he wasn't the focal point. So what does that tell you? That tells you that his talent was great when he's around a great team, but his talent doesn't transcend not having talent around him. I say all that to say this. I think Trip Fontaine is extremely talented, but there's no telling if he's going to be successful, because was he successful because he had good people around him, and can he carry it on his own? I wish him nothing but success, but there's no guarantee. But also, you got to bet on yourself, right? You got to bet on yourself. So, Kit Rose also said that she was owed $30,000, and there's been some recorded conversations that's been going back and forth that Kit says proves what she's saying against Ace is the truth, and then Ace says, "Nah, I got recorded conversations to prove what I said against you is the truth," and I don't know what the truth is. The truth of the matter is that once again, some people couldn't get along for my entertainment. That's what it's really all about. Get along for my entertainment. I'm still mad at Michael Jackson for leaving the Jacksons. He couldn't come back and do a couple albums every now and then. He didn't want to come back and do the Victory Tour after Thriller. He didn't. And he never did an album with his brothers ever again. They could have came back out before he died and dropped a whole new album. I would have been and toured again. I would have paid money to go see that tour. Would have paid money to go do it. They didn't want to do it. First the Fat Boys break up, now this. I don't know what to do with myself. They canceling BMF. Tonight's conversation ain't gonna be what it was. You know what I'm saying? Now I got to go try and find Kit and Trip somewhere else whenever they get their own thing going. It might not be as good. And then the whole thing got ruined. My entertainment got ruined. This is what it's really all about. And this is the reason why I press upon you guys that me and my sister will always be cool. We always talk about it. We're going to always be cool. Y'all don't have to worry about me and my sister getting into it. And then the next thing you know, Unsolicited Perspectives is canceled. Well, first of all, Unsolicited Perspectives will never be canceled because I'm going to still do the show. I tend to think that the show is pretty great with my sister, and that it is very difficult to carry an entire show all by yourself. I think it's difficult for any one person to do a podcast because after a certain period of time, you get tired of listening to just one voice. And my voice is kind of, I don't know, nasally. It's nasally because I can't breathe because of my allergies. So that's the truth. So I know the show is better when there's other people around that I can bounce it off of. But you know what? The show is still also good with me. And not everybody could do that. I'm not patting myself on the back because this show has got still light years to go before it's great or even very good. I think it's better than most. That's what I say. I think it's above average. I'm not giving it good or great yet. But yeah, it's a part of your entertainment. Y'all tune in, and the numbers are just the same when I have a show on my own as it is when I have an interview or when I have my sister. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But if I decided just to end the show, there would be a lot of people that'd be disappointed. Just as I'm disappointed that BMF is now over and tonight's conversation won't be the same. I'm gonna be real honest. Even though it's Ace's show, I don't really even like Ace all that much. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I mean, every now and then he drop a little bit of knowledge, but it feels like to me he just be talking common sense. It feels like the advice that he give is much better than the advice that I would give. The advice that Trip and Kit would give, way better than the advice that I would give. And that's the reason why I said they were great. So I don't know what's going to happen to the show. It is tough when you lose talent. I know from running the day-to-day operations of a fitness company that when we used to run open classes as opposed to corporate classes that are private, when we used to run public classes, we used to run yoga and boot camp and Zumba. We did kickboxing for a while. We did all different types of stuff, ab classes, booty classes, all different types of stuff. And I know certain instructors had a certain following. And man, when no instructors left, and nobody ever, no good instructor ever left because, they weren't getting enough money. Because I realized if they were that good, that I needed to do whatever I needed to do, go to the bosses and be like, look, we need to give them a raise. We need to pay them this to keep them because they have a following. Look at the numbers. Their class is always packed. But if for some strange reason they moved or, just their real job, because everybody was doing it part-time, their real job became too hectic and they didn't have the time to commit as many classes as they used to, customers got upset. Like people got upset. You get used to a good thing. You don't want the good thing to end. Now, there's an expiration date on everything. All good things must come to an end. However, these things didn't have to come to an end yet. BMF was about to get going even better because the last season was better than the season before that, which was better than the season before that. It was just getting better. And tonight's conversation, God, they were touring and they were going all over the place and they were selling out theaters and, they were getting a lot of people. People were making money. The latest contract for Kit allegedly was going to be for $203,000 for the tour for the year. That's how much they were getting. So they were, and this is like divided by like 6 people. Okay. So it's a very successful podcast. Is it going to still be successful? We'll wait and see. Will Kid be successful after this? She was already a YouTube personality. She can go back to that and be all right. And Trip will be fine. He's a personality that has a lot of sense and a lot of good things to say. People will follow him. They'll get it. Will they collectively be as good? Will they separately be as good as they were collectively? I don't think so. I wish them all the best. I hope they have more success separate than they do collectively. But I don't know. The eyes is just saying that I don't think that's going to be the case. But that's not the end of all our gossip. That's not even the end of the craziness. The craziness is what I'm going to get into next when I talk about the social media influencer and this crazy love triangle relationship type situation that he's got going on. This is going to blow y'all minds. And we're going to get into that next. So I told y'all I was going to give you the mess. I'm going to still keep giving y'all that messy gossip. Now, more than likely, maybe you heard about the story, but this is a new story. This was sent to me like yesterday or the day before, the last couple of days. And I said, there's no way in the world that this story is true. So me, the researcher, I had to go and do a little bit of research and I found out the story is absolutely true. And when I found out the story was absolutely true, I was like, I'm talking about this on the podcast. I got to talk about this on the podcast because this is such a crazy, crazy story. So what's the story about? Well, the story is about Nick Yardi. Nick Yardi is a Jamaican influencer. He began his social media career in 2017 and he gained significant following on the platforms like Snapchat. The followings have grown on, Instagram and TikToks and things of that nature. Why is he important? Why am I talking about him right now? Well, he has a unconventional, or I don't know if it's unconventional anymore, but he has a different type of relationship. He's in a poly relationship. That's when you have basically an open relationship. You're not in a monogamous relationship where that's just you and one other person. You're in a poly relationship, which means you might have, one girl over here, one girl over here, and they are dating each other. Maybe they're not dating each other. They just know about each other, and you got 2, 3 girlfriends. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Did I used to have a girlfriend or something like that and a side chick? Always. Okay. I shouldn't have said it like that, but that's the truth. Always. My side chicks always knew I had a girlfriend. I would tell my side chicks, you're not my girlfriend. She is my girlfriend. You don't interact with her unless I have you interact with her. And oftentimes I did. Oftentimes I introduced my side chick and my girlfriend. The reason why I did that is because I didn't want my girlfriend to think that there was anything going on with my quote unquote female friend. And not like my bestie who's legitimately my platonic friend. But back in the day when I was younger, I had female friends that weren't so platonic. So what I would do is, I would introduce them so that my girlfriend would know about them, know that that's my friend, and know that if he was hiding something, he wouldn't have introduced me. A little Jedi mind trick. Your boy had some game back in the day. Okay. I once convinced two roommates. Never mind. Never mind. Let's move on. Let's move on. So I did my thing back in the day, but it was never a true poly, right? It was me being shady. But people nowadays, are in these open relationships. And Nick is in an open relationship. Okay. He's got his wife, Jade, and then he's got another girlfriend, Danny. Here's where the twist comes in. Danny is Jade's mother. Yeah, no. Y'all heard that right. Y'all heard that right. Nick's wife, Jade, is the daughter of Danny, his other girlfriend. He got two girlfriends, a mama and a daughter. Biologically, a mother and daughter. Jade came from Danny's womb. That's the reason why I said unconventional. Poly is not so unconventional nowadays. I mean, technically, yes, it's still unconventional, but like more and more people are doing it. It's more in the out and open. It's more in the social conscience of what's going on in the world. People know about poly relationships. What people don't know is that Nick is dating a mama daughter. That's different in and of itself, right? And this situation has been going on for over a year and a half. What my friend sent me the other day is what really, really sparked my interest. I mean, the fact that he's dating a mother and daughter sparked my interest already, but this is really what topped the cake. They're both pregnant at the same damn time. That's right. Nick has knocked up not only his wife Jade, but also his mother-in-law / girlfriend Danny. And they're both having his baby. One a boy, one a girl. So I guess, hey man, he get the best of both worlds. So, okay, let's go down the family tree to say how all this connects. Danny is going to have the brother or sister of Jade, and Jade is also going to be their aunt, right? Hold on, no, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, no, So it's definitely the sister, and then it's something else. But the mom is going to, okay, no, the kids, you see how confusing this is? The kids are going to be aunt and uncle, right? Nephew, niece, and nephew. That's what the kids are going to be, but also siblings. And okay, so they're going to, yes, no, I had it right. So Jade is not only going to be a big sister, but also an aunt. And Danny is not only going to be a grandmother, but she's also going to be a mother and an aunt. Yo, that's definitely unconventional. Definitely unconventional. Look, I don't judge people. I don't judge people. But when I saw this video clip and they announced it to the world and they announced how happy they are, hey, look, man, hey, look. If they happy, I'm happy. This ain't doing nothing to me, right? Like it's not doing anything to you. It doesn't affect us. It's 3 people, soon to be 5. Hopefully the kids will be happy, but at least it's 3 people that are doing what they want to do and they're happy. And so what if Jade is going to be a sister aunt? And so what if Danny is going to be a grandma aunt / mother? I mean, there was a famous show, All in the Family. I guess they're gonna keep it all in the family. Okay, look, I, I I'm trying to come up with a. See, this is very wow. I mean, that's really what this comes down to is wow. And I'm not judging because I don't think these are good or bad people for these actions. I don't know them. I don't judge people on stuff like this. I don't. I will say it's very different. It's very different. I have a rule that very rarely will I call people crazy. I don't like it. It's dismissive. People aren't crazy unless they're really crazy. If they do certain actions like this, I don't think that's crazy, right? They're mentally there. They understand what's going on. They're happy about the situation. That's not crazy. Okay. The situation is very unique. And that's what I call people instead of calling them crazy. I call them unique. Like, oh, this person's very unique. Right. And there are people that I would love to have on the show to talk to them about this. I wouldn't laugh in their face. I would smirk in their face because I'd be like, hey, this is very unconventional, right? This is very unconventional what you got going on. Jade, you gonna be the sister aunt, Miss Danny. Cause I gotta call her Miss Danny. Cause she's gonna be a grandmother. I can't call her Danny. I can't really call her Danny because she's a mother to a grown adult. So if you're a mother to a grown adult, I don't call you by your first name unless you are personally a friend of mine. You Miss Danny. I I I definitely got to call her Miss Danny because she's gonna be a grandmother. A grandmother. Wow. I it's different. It's very unique, and I find it very interesting. And when I said that I was gonna be talking about some messy stuff today, didn't I y'all didn't think that we was gonna go from 50 Cent to sister aunts, did you? Well, we got there somehow, some way. And I look, sometimes you gotta laugh from crying. And what I mean by that is, look, everything is so serious in the world. As I'm recording this episode, the commander in chief had his first cabinet meeting, and you had Mr. Tesla himself in that black Make America Great hat talking to reporters. Last I checked, he wasn't in the cabinet. And, the more and more you learn about what's going on and some of the stuff that these politicians are trying to pull and how it's affecting other people out there in the world, you get angry. I told y'all the last episode, I always have a fire, a rage that's burning inside of me. I'm a real life Incredible Hulk. Well, not real life because I don't turn green and stuff like that, but I definitely turn red. I turn red. I have this inner rage. And like sometimes when I do this show, I have to talk about what's going on in the world. Sometimes I didn't realize this. I didn't realize this. I did the show to just like give my perspective on things that's going on in the world. I didn't realize, and I've learned from you guys that are listening and watching, that some of y'all come to me for news. Like I'm not a reporter. like don't I'm not a journalist. I'm a comment. Well, communist. I don't know if I'm a communist. I'm a columnist, right? Like I give opinions. I'm not a news source, but I also am somebody that's going to research a topic before I talk about it so that I understand to the best of my ability the depth of the topic and then relay that to you guys with my speech impediment and my stutter, all of that. I'm going to give it to you. My stumbling over words and all of that. And my now swiveling in my new chair. Like I'm going to give it to you all. And I understand like what's going on out there in the world can be like super depressing and anger feeling, rage and disappointment, right? That's what I feel more than anything is a disappointment in people. And I get that, right? And I talk about the stuff on the show and y'all hear my perspective. And, but if you're already dealing with that rage, every now and then you gotta just smile. You gotta smile from crying, right? Smiles and cries. You gotta smile from crying. So the way that I could try to get you to smile from crying is telling you about sister aunts. Sister aunts. Whoa, that is special and very unique. But you know what? Danny, Jade, and Nick, I wish y'all the best. Hope y'all raise two healthy individuals. And I assume that there's a lot of love in that house. Because, I mean, of course you love your daughter. Your daughter got to love the husband. And now the mother-in-law love the husband too. Love the husband a hell of a lot. Supposedly. Well, not supposedly. Evidently. Like, loves the husband a hell of a lot. And I'm sure she's going to love her grandchild / niece or nephew. And Jade is definitely going to love her brother, sister / niece or nephew. Because you know what? They're all happy. That's what they said in the video. They're all happy, and I'm happy for them. So yeah, every now and then I got to give y'all a messy ass show, especially when the world is being messy as hell. And I hope my goal was to bring a smile to your face during these troubled times. And if I did, I accomplished my goal. And that makes me extremely happy. But I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching. And until next time, as always, I'll holla. Whew, that was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching it to it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcasts and YouTube exclusive content. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspective.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you're really feeling generous and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciative. Most importantly, I want to say thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time. Audi 5000. Peace.